Good day, viewers, and welcome to another episode of Budget in Focus. I'm your host, Shaquille Bourne, and today we have with us a minister within the Ministry of Public Works, the Honorable Deodat Indar, to address some of the major transformative projects that we can see through the Ministry of Public Works and also in the energy sector. Minister Indar, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Shaki. Thank you for having me.
Minister, let's get right into it. The administration has a lot of top priorities with respect to infrastructure development, and we're seeing that in this budget with the allocations to develop various parts of the country, the entire country, as a matter of fact. What are some of the top priorities with respect to infrastructure development in this year's budget?
Thank you. Thank you. So, just to put it in context, the areas of priority were established since we were in opposition, that we had in a manifesto that we went out, and we have a social contract with the people of Guyana. And since 2020, when we became a government, we start to implement them. So we have, as I said, we have about $225 billion that is allocated for capital spend in the Ministry of Public Works. The total is about 236 billion out of a 1.1 trillion total budget for the country. So we carry about 1/3 of that capital spend. And it's simply because we have some of the largest projects in the country.
Yeah.
Namely, the first one is the Demerara Harbor Bridge. That is a large project that we're doing, 2.65 kilometers of 4-lane bridge. It will be completed. It's supposed to be, from the time of contract to execution, 730 days. So that is expected to complete at the end of this year, maybe by first quarter of 2025 latest. At least that is what the president, and when he visited, spoke to the contractor. So we have that major project there. We have the Wismar Bridge that we just signed only about a week or something ago. That is about 35 million US. We have the Linden to Mobura Road that is under construction currently, 121 kilometers. We have on that already about 45 bridges that we are building, some already completed. And in this year, the remainder will be completed to accommodate containerized traffic, because those bridges were the weak points, and we are continuing to build that road to Brazil, to Latem, which will connect us to northern Brazil. We also have coming this way, let's use from East Bank, from the airport coming down. We are widening that road from Good Success to Timeri. So that year, that project this year will commence. We also have what we are doing under the whole infrastructure. Housing is also doing, through their ministry, the 4-lane highway that is now, there's a piece now from Diamond, Great Diamond, now to Busby Dam that will come out somewhere by Craig area there. We have that piece as well, so that will connect to the main road that we currently know from Timeri down to Georgetown. So on the East Bank side, we are having a number of projects there. We're also connecting the Harbor Bridge to that network, that highway network. And that highway network now will be connected to the road that we are building from East Coast that will come to Eccles. So we are connecting that road from East Coast to Eccles with a roundabout, so that it can connect to the concrete highway that is going to Diamond, Busby Dam, and it will also connect to the Harbor Bridge to take you to Region 3. And Region 3 persons, when they come over, they will go off the bridge into a runoff, into a, we call an intersection, something designed like a diamond intersection, so that it will take you to Georgetown, or you can go on the East Bank, or you can go on the East Coast. So those are some of the big ones that we're doing there. Further, we also have the project that we're widening from Sheriff Street to Orange Nassau.
Yeah.
And that is a widening project that we're doing. The project is under construction. Various parts are being done right now on that alignment. Further up in Berbice, from New Amsterdam straight up to Crabwood Creek, we have about 99 structures on that alignment. It's about 86 kilometers, but we have the structures already awarded, the movement of the utilities and so on. That is going to be widened. That was the announcement made by the president that we're widening that to 4 lanes. Um, when you come out of that now, if you go to Region 3, we are doing, when the bridge lands into Schoonard area, Mayor's Organ, we are doing a 4 lane, a massive roundabout there, and it will have a 4 lane going to connect to Crane, so that you can bypass the traffic and you can get directly to the west coast of Demerara. Those are some of the, in terms of the road network that we have in 2024. On the bridges side, with the new Demerara Harbour Bridge, the Wismar Bridge, and the Borbies Bridge, the one between Quarantine that we're doing to Bridge Guyana and Suriname.
Suriname.
That is in its advanced stage. We're hoping to finalize that between the governments of Guyana and Suriname so that can start construction. So we'll link that aspect of it too. So a person can drive from Suriname and you can reach Guyana, you could go straight to northern Brazil, or you can start in northern Brazil, come straight through and go to Suriname and then hook up to the other neighboring countries. So it's this massive network of road and connections that we're building. The Kurapakari Bridge, which is that bridge that is on the Linden to Letem high, well, we'll call it a highway soon when we finish building it. That's the only one. It's about 600 meters of bridge that you need to put there to bridge that river, because now there's no bridge there. That one is the only one that we have not yet addressed. We have already begun the process of addressing that. Once that is in place, it'll be a game changer for the entire thing, because you normally the traveling public have to wait there for movement over that piece of the river, which is, as I said, is 600 meters in width. So those are some of the big areas that we're looking at in terms of the transformative projects.
Now, Minister, you spoke about traffic flow and connectivity. All of these projects, they're all connected in some way or the other, many ways. What are the expected benefits of these projects when we look at expansion of highways, creating new highways in areas we wouldn't have had highways before, in which there was only a 2-lane road, and you have multiple stops along those roads, and it's congested along those routes? What are the expected benefits of these projects?
Shakil, there are multiple benefits, but every Guyanese that move on these bank, or in Georgetown, or in Region 3 coming over, or going up the airport or coming down, they experience it. This is not something new to Guyanese. Guyanese people experience the traffic jam. There are hours in them. They have to wake up earlier to go to work, and they spend long hours in traffic to go home to the loved ones. Timing, the collective, or we call it the sum effects of the timing of everybody in traffic. If you calculate that, the economic loss to the country and personal loss to people, because timing on traffic is wasted time. You could be home with your kids, helping them with homework, doing something productive. You don't have to wake up early in the morning to go because the traffic is so cumbersome at various points in the country. So one is reduced travel time. That's the first one. And then you have, on the commerce side, when trucks are in that traffic too, they can't sell to. They can't make their targets at the end of the month. Companies, they suffer from that too. And that's another viewpoint that we need to understand too. Not just about a single person moving too. There's the business aspect of it, where trucks can't make deliveries on time and so on. They can't have enough selling hours per day because they've spent most times in traffic. So apart from them, the traveling public, in reduction in the time to get from point A to B to C and D, the infrastructure that we're building are strategic in nature. So coming from these banks, you'll have 12 lanes coming into Georgetown and 12 lanes coming out of Georgetown. Yeah. That will reduce it. In Region 3, I live in Region 3. When you come around the Vridenhoek Junction, the minute you hit Vridenhoek side, now the place is buzzing. There's traffic everywhere, straight up to the Harbour Bridge. When you're coming out of work in the afternoon and you end up in traffic all the way. So what we decide to do is to create a bypass road at Schoonard, a 4-lane, to hook you to Crane.
And a lot of this is in virgin land.
And it's in virgin land. So it's opening up new land. So what happened when the 4-lane was built from Sheriff Street to Eccles, and then Eccles to Diamond, and so. A lot of if you go on that 4-lane highway now, you'll find that a lot of people are using it now. So that now becomes the front land. When in the back in the days it was swamp, now it's front lands. It's very expensive to get land if they have.
Yeah.
So similar when you open up lands in new areas, you create more economic activity. You create people now have access to stranded assets, right? They have access to stranded assets that now can be commercialized and monetized. Similar for the harbor bridge. There's a wisdom in the harbor bridge. So you put apart from the old one that is, has outlived its economic life and serve, connectivity between Region 3 and Region 4 since the 70s. The opening and the closing of that river bridge, it stranded land or assets beyond the harbor bridge.
Yeah.
So most of the persons that have seafront is from the harbor bridge to the Atlantic Ocean on the Georgetown side. It was difficult for development to happen on Region 3 side and beyond the harbor bridge simply because, one, we call the bathymetric survey, the depth of the water on Region 3 side was sloping and was shallow, so large vessels couldn't go there. But we have plans to dredge the river. And beyond the harbor bridge now, a lot of development of the waterfront is happening. People are now commercializing their land. Because when the bridge is finished, between the mean level of the water, the mean level, and the base of the bridge, it will be about 50 meters high. And there will be about maybe 220 to 260 or I think it's a little more than that between the two. I think it's actually 280 meters between the one side of the high span to the other side. That will allow for traffic to go both ways, up and down, without any opening because it's fixed span.
And larger vessels.
Larger vessels can go and come without any encumbrances. That means that scheduling for operation offshore, scheduling for commercial vessel, they don't have to wait on the opening. They don't have to wait on tide as they have to do right now and so on. They move as they please, which will open up stranded assets beyond the harbor bridge. And so that is a strategic thinking. And the value of those lands now are, is high.
Yeah.
Simply because a bridge will be built there that will allow traffic to move, seamlessly without any kind of waiting on the tide or a schedule to go next 3 days or things like that. That happens now.
I know land cost in Region 3 is going up. A lot of persons I know who are seeking lands.
Because Region 3 now is now a economic hub.
Correct.
Right? And a lot of projects, major projects are happening in Region 3, the gas to energy project. We'll talk about energy just now.
Yeah. But Minister, people know you a lot for energy and public works, but more specifically, there's word on the street, you're the roads guy. So $73.2 billion is allocated for the building of community roads. And we see some of the complaints online about road networks in certain areas. And the administration has been addressing this by building thousands of roads since 2020. How will this $73.2 billion be allocated across the administrative regions? How is the priority set?
Well, first of all, the priority is the entire country.
Yeah.
And our commitment that is every road in every community will be built. So we have started out in 2020. We started building roads in communities. In 2021, it is ramped up. Same thing for 2022, it's ramped up. 2023, same thing. We have built about 4,000 roads across the coast and in Linden, right? That is in the populated areas. About 4,000 community roads. I can tell you, I think in 2015 when the APNU came in, they had a budget, and I think the total budget for the whole country, their capital spend was about $39 billion. $39 billion, if I remember correctly. I checked it a while ago. The roads budget figure that you just called is just the miscellaneous roads program for Ministry of Public Works, not the whole ministry. It's 73.2 billion. So we are talking about a single line item in the Ministry of Public Works now is 73 billion as against 39 and let's say 40 billion dollars. An additional 33 billion dollars for a single item. Just think about the scale of what we are doing.
Yeah.
That is why every community you're seeing they're being fixed. Roads in every community because thousands upon thousands of complaints you get when we came into government. When we went on the ground and we looked, every community dilapidated infrastructure, whether it's the culverts failing, the roads are failing, there's no drainage, all the bridge were mostly wooden bridges. We're removing that into concrete bridges. So we are building out these communities from the top of Charity straight down to Crabwood Creek. Roads are built. In Barbies, we build over about 1,100 roads. Region 3, about 1,000 roads. East Coast, over 400 roads. Recently, as of last year, we put about 300 roads on the East Coast. On the East Bank, we continue to build 100 roads. Only about 3 months ago, we signed those.
Yeah.
Right? In Linden, we are building a lot of roads. In Region 5, we have a lot of roads that are being done. So those are the miscellaneous roads, that are the community areas, all of the housing schemes them across the country. We are building their roads. Tushin, one of the biggest and the oldest. You have Diamond, Tushin, you have Parfait Harmony, you have Zealot, you have in Barbies, you have number 76, number 77. You have on the East Coast like Good Hope and all of those places. We and the communities, the traditional community, every one of them. We are in there. We have built roads. Some of those communities, when we go in and we come out, there's no road left to fix. Then apart from that too, we do a lot with the force account of the ministry too. We go into communities, we build out the whole community. We went into Fowls, we built about 20 roads. Enterprise, we built out all the roads. We went to Blade and Hall, we built out all the roads. We went to, and more, so we are going to these communities building out. We went into Melanie, we built out all of the road in there. Melanie South and Melanie North. So everywhere we go, we are built. So that is the commitment that the government has made. We will be building all the roads in the country, and we are doing that. As I said, we started the process and we are moving at breakneck speed, but there are some that are still to be done.
Yeah.
And I just want the people to know that we know of the roads that needs to be done and we'll be addressing them. With this $73.2 billion in this budget, the amount of roads that will be built with that in 2023, you'll see that kind of revenue in the whole country. But it comes with problems. It comes with problems with contractor. Mm-hmm. Some of them do good work, some of them are slothful in their delivery. It comes with them throwing sand on the people road when they're building it. It comes with them moving trucks in communities, breaking up existing roads. We have a multiple, we call challenges when you're building a country.
Yeah. And
hateful to watch you finish building a road at taxpayers' dollars and then trucks come in the nights and they're building another project and they will break it up. And it's a problem that we have in the country, and we are trying to address it as much as we can.
And it's important to know that these roads are being built in areas throughout Guyana. It's not just PPPC strongholds, it's also in opposition strongholds as well.
Well, you know,
and we hear a lot of complaints online from the naysayers that are saying that, roads are only being done in a specific area.
Well, they could bring it to, I am open any day for them to say where the road hasn't been built, and I'll go and show you where the road is being built. So you have that, the people who tend to inject the racial lines in everything that you do. Those persons, their only purpose, I think, is to divide people.
Yeah.
I don't see any value in that. I can tell you that every community in this country is seeing development. And if anybody can point me to a community that didn't see development, I'll go there. I could tell you, we have built roads in St. Cuthbert Mission with the persons them in the community doing the work. We built road in Melanie, where people from Melanie and the surrounding community built the road there.
Yeah.
Sophia, everywhere. Denham still, if you go.
Arcadia,
Mocha,
400 million the other day.
Victory Valley, If you go to, did I say Sapphire just now?
Yeah.
I said Sapphire. If you go right in Georgetown, the whole of Georgetown, Independence Boulevard, all of the 18 streets connecting you to Independence Boulevard, everybody from the community is building it.
And these aren't outside
Riverview,
contractors.
Riverview.
Yeah.
You go to all of the communities on the East Coast. If you go to Berbice, the same thing. You go to Little Africa, Little India. You go to all of them communities. It's people from the communities building communities. In most cases, we try to make sure that that happens, right? So you go all over this country, and those are the ones for the naysayers who speak that, that you're not. It's not distributed properly. I think it's actually, you have to answer it, but
I think the facts show that.
it's just designed to mislead people.
Yeah.
Just designed to mislead.
And the facts will speak for itself. Let's turn our attention to Hinterland Road. Some
Yeah.
$5.5 billion has been allocated to beef up those roads, bring them up to standard. What can people, the Guyanese public, expect with that $5.5 billion
So Region
allocation?
1, what we've been doing is building concrete roads in Region 1. So we build them kilometers by kilometers so if it's a long road, you build it kilometer by kilometer every year, you put in a kilometer or two, right? So we've been building concrete roads in Region 1. In Region 9, the same thing too. And some of the other roads, the trade roads, as well. Region 7, we reached last year, the end of the year, about November time, we have actually put about $1.5 billion into Bartik and the surrounding community, building out the road. So in Bartica, they have the road from the airstrip into the township. We're doing back that whole road. In the Bartik itself, we're refreshing back all of those roads. They have a couple of outlying communities that we are also building, those at Dark Point and a couple of other communities where we're building those roads. Or that was last year. Another layer will happen. I spoke about Region 9. Region 8, we normally go and have the community try to deal with their roads. We normally give it to the communities and their leadership to deal with building of the roads and so on. So regions and parts of Region 1, Region 7, 8, and 9 are considered hinterland.
Yeah.
Region 10, like in Malali and Mortario and those other places, we normally do roads in those communities as well, to Macau and so on. So that money is allocated to those areas, right? In Laluni area and the outskirts of Georgetown, we are fixing that road right now. We're trying a new technology there for the Laluni. I think about 10 kilometers. And then in Moblissa, where DDL Farm is, we did the road to the bridge. We're doing the bridge now and then to develop that community. They have a lot of families in there too. So with the Hinterland program, you'll see that the roads and the bridges in the Hinterland community are in Maruka sub-district too. We're doing some work in there as well too. So that money will go into those communities.
And I believe GGMC as well does work in the
They
Hinterland.
also
Yeah.
do, but they do more into the mining communities. We do on the main public access areas, and they do mostly in the mining areas.
Let's turn our attention to Linden. A $4.2 billion has been allocated for the Wisma 4-lane bridge. And it was just about a week ago we went to Region 10 for that contract signing. How does this investment compare to that we would have seen under the previous administration within the mining township?
Well, since Noah was a boy, they've been promising all kind of things there. But they did a recent study when they were in government, right? At the Ministry of Public Works, and at that time under their ministers, their government, by a company called, an Italian company that did the work. And they designed a 220-meter long bridge, 2 lanes, for 30 million US. That was what the bill of quantity on the study had. So let me repeat that. 2 lanes, 220 meters at 30 million US. Our government negotiated the same length of bridge, 220 meters, for $35 million, but 4 lanes. So you're getting 2 extra lanes for a differential of 5 million US. And there's a difference between the two governments. But that is the first thing I want to say. The second thing is the purpose of a 4-lane bridge there. Number one, the traffic has increased. Number two, if you're building out a connectivity of a highway coming from, let them with containerized trucks, they can't pass on the current bridge.
That would be a chokehold.
It will be, yeah, it will be a choke point. So you have to build that community with the kind of connection that is needed, with the kind of traffic that you expect to come from the from northern Brazil trade coming through, right? So, and that is you got to build for the future. You can't just build, for today or what you see today. You have to build for the future.
And what other infrastructure projects can citizens expect to see being rolled out in Linden this
Well,
year?
definitely we do a lot of the bridges and the community roads. We do a lot of that in Linden, right? We spent a lot of money in the township. We have rehabilitated a number of those roads from concrete and asphaltic as well too, right? A number of roads in that community. When you go, you visibly see it. When I went with President Ali when he did his outreach, I think it was 6 in the morning, and we went back in there and we fixed a whole host of community roads.
Okay.
And there are more to get done, and you will see more work happening again this year.
And of course, the people from those communities will be involved in those projects.
That is how we do it here.
Let's turn our attention to the airstrips. The airstrips are a vital organ for persons within the hinterland to move goods and services between the hinterland and of course the coastline. Some $2.3 billion is allocated. What can citizens expect with that allocation?
So moving goods into the interior now, the local airlines them will be packed now. The scheduling is very tight for them because people are moving up and down all the time. So we started last year to do with the Ikeriku, Carisparu, and so those two and two others we rehabilitated. But this year we're looking to do Kaikan, Kaitior, Mbaimedai, and another one. 4 of them as well. But the Ikeriku and Carisparu is not completed as yet. Because of where these airstrips are, it's difficult for the contractors them to get material to build the road.
Yeah.
Not making excuses for them.
Yeah.
They took the contract knowing very well the risk. But so those 2 have not finished as yet. But we are adding 4 more to it to make sure that 2 finish as well as the 4 that we're now having on the table.
Yeah, Minister, let's turn our attention to the energy sector. I know you share that sector with the Prime Minister.
So the Prime Minister have the overall responsibility for the sector. I assist in managing the sector on a day-to-day to assist them.
Some 97.5 billion has been allocated for under the energy expansion and diversification portfolio. Let's talk a bit about that.
So it's 95.7 billion. Yeah.
Billion, correct. Of which 1.3 billion is allocated for the completion of the Kumu and Mokomoko Falls.
Hydro. So we started that project in Region 9 in Kumu and in Mokomoko, and is expected to finish by 2025. So the project is ongoing, right? It was signed last year, so the construction is happening. It's ongoing. So you have to now move it. You have to move the needle towards completion. So that project is ongoing, and that will deliver. I think it's about 2.2 megawatts, somewhere around there, for that community, and the expansion of Region 9, because it also have the evacuation of the power built into that as well too.
I like that you noted that the project is ongoing, because some persons might see this project pop up again in the 2024 budget and was wondering, well,
What happened?
What happened
Yeah.
Last year?
Yeah.
But it's an ongoing project. Some monies have to be
Every year
allocated
you
every
have
year.
a sum that is to be expected based on the works that you expect to get done.
And the gas energy project, about $8 billion.
So the gas to energy project is a project that have many moving parts, and it's a large project, one of the biggest in our country. So that project is designed to deliver 300 megawatts of additional power, base load power. Right now, we have about 180 megawatts of operating assets. We have just bought 28.9 megawatts of new generating capacity that is at Columbia substation being set up now. Some of the engines are already online, and the others are coming in. They're hooking them up and bringing them and putting the fuel tank and the heating tank and the electricals and the exhaust and the whole host of things that they have to put. All 17 engines are on their deck and they're being connected as we speak. And they will hook to the substation to bring 28.9 megawatts in addition to the 180 that we have. So that'll take us about 208.9 megawatts. Our peak demand last year was about 84 megawatts, somewhere in that vicinity. So we had to do some load shedding for a 2 months period that really, had some people in the country, very angry with the situation.
Yeah.
But we managed to deal with that and curb that issue in the month of December. And we have stopped the time billing as well between the peak. We have ceased that as well because we now have the power to generate. In 2024, we expect the peak demand to be somewhere around 236 megawatts. So we are looking at that as well. But the gas to energy project online, there's about 26 kilometers of pipe that is online that is being laid right now. The near shore pipe lay is happening, and I think the deep sea pipeline will come in shortly. The power plant is we call the integrated plant area that is being constructed by CH4 and Linseka. The MOF is finished as well, which is a material offloading facility at the river front at Wales. All of the pipes I know is in stockyard in Nimes to move the pipe online, and so the project is moving in different parts. The groundworks are happening. The evacuation of the power is also contracted out, because when you build a plant, you have to evacuate the power. So you have to move 230,000 volts, we call transmission line, from Wales to Eccles, where the new control center and main substation will be. And in Region 3 from Wales, you'll have 2 substations there, and they'll evacuate 69,000 volts to Vredenhoop to bring the power to that substation to redistribute. When that comes online, we expect that power costs will cut by 50%, which will have cascading positive effects across multiple industries, whether you are manufacturing, whether you're in cold storage business, whether you're operating a meat center and you're cutting your meat with anything that generates power that you have to pay, the current price will be cut in half, simply because we will generate power cheaper, and that is a promise the party and the government has made to the people of Guyana, will cut the power cost by half.
Definitely. And just to remind our viewers, we are joined with Minister Indar from the Ministry of Public Works as we discuss Budget 2024, which was tabled in the National Assembly under the theme, Staying the Course, Building Prosperity for All. And as we build prosperity for all, let's talk about some of the measures in the budget that are designed to uplift the living standards of Guyanese and those that are in vulnerable situations. First of all, the income tax threshold. Your take on that?
So I see the commentary, you're not going to eat the road or the bridge. People need more relief on the income tax side. Let me just remind everybody. Sometimes, we operate like we have memories like goldfish. Goldfish, by the time we go up and come down, you forget. That is to say, we have a memory like goldfish. And we forget what we went through in 5 years, where every day the previous finance minister wake up and the government wake up, they charge you a different tax and increase a different fee and remove something that was on a zero-rated list of items that you used to reclaim your VAT, never charge it to consumers. Companies used to reclaim it, now move from a zero-rated listing gone into standard-rated listing where you had to charge standard-rate tax VAT to consumers. Consumers had to pay the government. They had a steep increase in their tax revenue profile. From the time they took power in 2015 to the time they left in 2020, the tax revenue of the country went up by 67%. There's a curve, a huge curve. So I plotted it. I took their tax revenue every year and put it in, and you see it went up like this. Who is that money coming from? It's coming from businesses and households. Who is taxed? Who is the taxpayer? The taxpayers, employees, self-employed people, and businesses. Those are taxpayers. And then they had fees and fines, so they went up too. So the entire revenue base of the country, they decided to up it by taking with both hands some people. I just wanted to say that because in my previous life as in a private sector position, as a private person and as a leader of the private sector at that time too, at the Chamber of Commerce, I had serious problem with this with businesses and them and households and them. Now, we in the government start removing all them. We call them hardship measures. Removing them and chopping them down the minute we got into power in 2020. Start removing them, put back all of those things that they took off of the zero-rated list of VAT and put them back on. So that companies don't have to charge consumers that increased tax, value-added tax. All of the fees and fines, we reverse them. Then we start to do different things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the things that we did. First of all, the cost of fuel. Fuel continued to rise all the time. Gas, oil, or gasoline, and diesel continued to rise. Back in the day, maybe in 2004, coming up from 2004, 5, 6, 7, there was a huge disparity between gas prices and diesel prices, right? That disparity now is closed, where gas, cost of gasoline and diesel, very close to each other per liter.
Yeah.
At the pump. If you check 20 years ago, it was a distance away. There was we call a parity I used to check between the two. And I used to plot the graph every month because it was one of the biggest costs in government, in private sector. And it's one of the biggest costs for them right now. And for the traveling public. And for the minibus operators, and for the taxi operators, and for persons operating speedboat, and for the dredge owners, and for the people that are moving logs, and everybody else. Cost for fuel is a major thing. We have removed all taxes on it because the price gone up, and if we add tax on it, it'll just be unbearable to people.
Yeah.
So we removed it. I can't point to another country in the world that did that for its population. We removed it. That by removing tax on the excise tax on fuel, we have not taxed people for it, thus leaving them with about accumulative about $40 billion in their hands between businesses, households, the traveling public, because they don't have to pay extra at the pump.
Yeah.
$40 billion were forgone in taxes because of that. And that is what here in government does. $40 billion now. Not little money. The other one is freight. Back in the day, before COVID, you used to pay around $3,300 to $3,500 US to bring a container from Asia, China and so on. That's went out of whack. Where you were paying close to 21,000 US for the same container. Now a container, you have 20 foot and 40 foot. They have a maximum weight limit that it can have of cargo inside.
Yeah.
You can't put more into the container above its max weight, right? So it's the same weight that you're bringing, volume you're bringing, and you're paying 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, up to 7 times the price you were paying for the very container.
That drives up the cost of goods.
Drives up the landed cost of goods, that's carrying up the cost of tradable goods in the shop or consumable goods in the shop or the supermarket. And we import a lot of stuff. So that means that most things would have gone up. We know what we did? We took the price prior, because you remember when you bring in a container, it's taxed on the cost, insurance, and freight, which is a CIF value. Taxes are prepared based on CIF value. So the cost of the good, the insurance and the freight part, we have removed that inflated amount because of what the shipping industry was doing to importers across the globe. We have returned it to the pre-COVID figure around 3,000, 3,500. So that the figure that you're taxed on to pay tax for your import is now reduced. You pay less tax. That means your landed cost is reduced. That means that it shelters the consumers from the impact of that high increase in prices. Although the importer would have to pay the freight company the full amount, the thing that we control is how much tax you pay, and we have reduced that. That's a very good initiative we did. On jobs, we put 15,000 persons on part-time job. 15,000 of them. That's about $10 billion. Most of them are single mothers and so, right? On the cost of living, we put in this year budget $7 billion to deal with issues around cost of living, and that is done with interaction of different vulnerable groups in the country, right? It's not done willy-nilly. And then what we did to the vulnerable groups as well. We tried to make sure that the old age pension went up. In 2020, it was 20,500. Right now, it's 36,000. It's about a 75% increase since we got into government. Old age pension went up. Public assistance. Public assistance, you have about 45,000 people on that. So we move it from 9,000 in government to now $19,000. That's another $1.2 billion going in the hand of those 45,000 people. Cash grant. Cash grant is something that you have to sit back. It was zero when we come in office. Now it's $45,000 per child. That is $9.2 billion in the hands of parents and the children. Now they didn't see that it was wise to continue giving that. But yet you hear all of them in the opposition, oh, what you doing for poor people, what you doing for poor people. Them 205,000 children, who are those people? Those people need the money.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I just normally go out when we share in cash grant. Everybody accepts this money because it's a help to parents. And that is a significant thing that we are putting back into the hands of people. In terms of the pension and so on, we try to make sure that the amounts are increased, right? Like the minimum pension, about 27,000 people in that bracket. Survivors pension, we move it from 17,000 now to 21,537. That's another $600 million in their hands. But most importantly, we increase the rate for the minimum pay, non-taxable pay to 100 grand. Right? When we came in office, it was 65,000. Now it's 100 grand. You have about 13,000 people in that bracket, that tax bracket. So all of these things, the cumulative effects of these things, about $70 billion is in the hands of the different various groups of people. So it's not just, oh, you're building roads, bridges, schools, which all these things are needed. You need them.
Yeah.
So if you're changing a country, you have to make sure that you deal with all of these different things, but you also deal with the people and their well-being, the health care, the education of their children. All of those things are dealt with. How do we eat? Do we import tamarind ball? Do we import lettuce and shallot? No, we grow them right here, right? We grow them, so you have to incentivize farmers. You have to help farmers with their yields. You have to give them the drainage and the irrigation network. You have to provide feeding and so the feed planting materials and everything for them, feed for the livestock. So you have to help them because all of these things, fertilizer cost is the biggest cost of farmers. And then the drainage and irrigation to help them with the yield. All of those things are in this budget to help the poor and the vulnerable people.
And the budget measures, it's not in isolation because outside of the budget measures, as you said, the investments in agriculture, the investments in the healthcare sector, all of that affects cost of living in the country. So,
correct.
So that is much needed. Minister, what are your final words to the Guyanese public as we head into the debates next week? We'll hear from both government and opposition side, and then of course we'll scrutinize the budget much more through when we go through the estimates. What do you say Guyanese should take away from this?
I think this, if you're going from point A to point B at a particular speed, as we are going right now, we grew last year from a 33%.
Yeah.
The final figure, the economy expected to grow by 33% at the end of 2023. If you're growing at that speed, you're building at that speed, what we're saying, stay the course because you're doing the right thing. You're building the roads, you're building the bridges, you're building the hospitals, you're building the schools, you're building draining irrigation network, you're making sure you train your people, you're doing everything for them. You're doing what you're elected to do, what you promise people to do. So we are staying the course. That's the first thing. And we are doing it at a particular speed faster than anybody else in the world, because our economy is growing faster than anybody else in the world. So when we say stay the course, we know that we're on the right track. We are just making sure that we stay on that track, press forward, because we are delivering to people. We are delivering to them, and we say that we will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, and we are checking that and making sure that we're doing everything that we promise people we're doing. On the ground, you pick up more as you go on the ground, and we are addressing those as well, in addition to what we promise.
Yeah.
With regards to this whole budget addresses the transformation of the country, but also address the poor and the vulnerable. The People's Progressive Party, in the heart of the party, is what you call a pro-poor party, that address the issues of the poor. That is why you see so much money allocated to the various groups of people, from the elder folks to the pensioners, those on disability, those who are looking for assistance, those people who are looking to start up a business, those people who are farmers. Every group of persons is addressed in this budget to make sure that some form of support and assistance go their way whilst you're modernizing the country at the same time. So that is what this budget has encapsulated in totality. You'll hear all kind of thing, but you check the budget and you'll see the matters being addressed, right? The arguments will always be by how much. The question is, when they were in government, what did they do? Check your record and you'll see the difference. It's always good to shout when you're in the spectator stand, how to dribble the ball on the field. But when you're on the field, it's a different story.
Different ball game. Thank you so much, Minister. And as the Minister rightly said, the proof is in the pudding. So stay tuned and watch the budget debates, listen to the estimates, and understand what this budget means for you. A $1.146 trillion budget that addresses the needs of the Guyanese people. This is we've had Minister Deodat Indar in office, a minister within the Ministry of Public Works. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I'm your host, Shaquille Bourne. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you.